Hello, my name is Adam Cheatham. I'm Director of Strategy and Transformation at Third Stage Consulting. And I wanted to take a moment today to talk to you guys a little bit about what it means to get things right and what it means to ask for help when you need it. It's never too late to ask for help. It's often just as true that it's never too early to ask for help. I want to share a couple of stories about clients that have had a lot of success in asking for help when maybe it seemed like they were closer to the end than they were. So we'll start with that. To start things out, I want to set the tone with a client of mine that reached out to us and said we're down to 2 vendors. We got to these 2 vendors using an online tool that we plugged in all of our requirements, and this online tool spit out 5 different systems, and we've narrowed it down to 2. And we've had those 2 come for demonstrations, and we think we have the right one. We want to make sure that we're headed in the right direction because we know that one of them will fit, and we don't know whether or not the other one will. And our approach was to come in and start with, okay, what makes you think that first one fits, and talk through some of those things and align with a little bit of their digital strategy, because when you start thinking about software, you should be bringing this together in a digital strategy environment. And we were able to tease apart some of the core priorities in their digital environment, what they were looking for, and then apply that as a lens to the rest of their selection, because we really picked it up about halfway through. What we found is that they were looking for a software system that they could integrate with some of their more advanced in-house systems, but keep an environment that was simplified for them, but that met most of their needs out of one ERP package, as opposed to trying to put together and integrate a more best-of-breed type scenario. The feedback that we got on vendor A looks awesome. It's going to fit our needs exactly, and they bring another particular system to the table that is heavily advanced in some of the areas where we need it the most. And vendor B, they came, they demoed, and we just, the person that demonstrated did an awful job, and they're not welcome back. And so I asked them, well, was that because of your system integrator or because of the software? What makes you decide that software package doesn't work? And the vast majority of their feedback was more pertaining to the actual system integrator and their inability to show the system. So when it got down to the bottom of it, we found that they couldn't tell us whether or not that system would work, or yes or no. The answer was unclear. So we started digging into that a little bit to kind of bring them up to speed with the other system, to be able to say we have two that will compare very well, 2 that would be very good fits. What we found during that process of trying to put the 2 of them on even playing fields was that the first vendor, vendor A, had created a sales environment where they were showing a lot of great and wonderful things, but they were not speaking to the actual needs of this particular client. They were glossing over a lot of that, and it was going unnoticed. So we dug into that a little bit more on the actual needs, and syncing that up with the digital strategy that we put together for them, and found that software system would be a bit more complicated for them to manage than it first appeared. At the same time as we were bringing up to speed vendor B, we were starting to find out that this vendor B was going to be able to simplify a lot of what their software environment would look like, and a lot of the things that were required by that second software that vendor A brought to the table was actually covered in the core system for vendor B. As this really started developing, we started finding that because vendor B was a better functional fit, was a better cultural fit, and a better fit for their digital strategy, keeping things as simple as possible, that vendor B became the actual winner of the deal by a long shot, because we also, as we were starting to align the selection with the actual goals of the company and the requirements of the company, we found that vendor A, who was quite close to being crowned a winner, was going to be a much more significant challenge to implement, a much more significant challenge to manage after the implementation, and that the costs of getting all of the software that they needed was going to grow pretty rapidly, particularly as we started identifying gaps in requirements. That vendor has been competitive for us in many other spaces. I've won a lot of deals with vendor A. I have a lot of clients that have gone down that path, but they were not the right software system for this other client and could have cost them potentially twice the amount of money, to the tune of several $1 million if they had to end up implementing that system and finding out after they had signed the contract that they had made the wrong software selection. The implementation itself for vendor B is going very well. It's turned out that that's such a great fit that a lot of their business processes are going to benefit from a significant level of standardization and cleanup, and this will be the right system in the future for this particular client. So the lesson here is that even before your implementation begins, selecting the right software and finding the right fit and making sure that it aligns with your digital strategy and your software requirements, your business requirements for software. It's important to get that right early, and an implementation can be determined, the success of an implementation can be determined rather early in that cycle, even before you sign a contract with an ERP vendor. So at the end of the day, we take a very direct approach to partnering with our clients, and it was our pleasure to help this client through this to make sure that they had the right tools at their disposal and the right advice. We were proud to be able to put them in a direction where they are now headed into the future of their software environment, and we're very pleased to see that. For anyone out there who's feeling like there might be something just a little bit off on what's going on with their software selection or implementation, it's never too early to ask for help. So ask somebody for help. Talk to an expert. Talk to somebody who does it for a living. Talk to somebody who sells something else for a living or implements something else for a living, and get some competing opinions. I would be happy to help you through that conversation. So if you'd like to reach out to me directly, please feel free to. Otherwise, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on LinkedIn, and we'll see you out there in the software space.